freaky Nikki.
I'm loving the fact that 2026 is turning out to be such a great year for the horror genre. We're barely halfway into the year and there's already quite a few promising entries. For me, one of the most unnerving and creepy horror films from that long list has been Obsession. And what I find the most fascinating about the movie is the air of mystery around the narrative. It's a story that sounds simple when you hear it, the story of a wish fulfilled that goes horribly wrong. But once you watch the whole movie and sit back to think about what it's all about, the answers are not so straightforward. I think one of the biggest mysteries about the film is the man behind the phone, when the protagonist reaches out to the helpline number given on his One Wish Willow piece. And the way I see it, his origin and backstory just change how the movie stands or how a sequel might turn out. Let's get to the bottom of this maze in this video. So you all know how this goes down in the movie. And if you haven't watched it already, I strongly recommend checking it out before you watch this video, because there are going to be some major spoilers. Bear is hopelessly smitten with his friend Nikki, but he's too shy and scared to confess his feelings for her. A visit to a random crystal store makes him pick a One Wish Willow she plans on gifting her, but later uses for himself, wishing that Nikki would love him more than anyone in the world. It all starts off nice and cute, but Nikki soon spirals into an unhealthy obsession over Bear. She's emotionally unstable, unusually possessive, and terrifying with her actions and behavior, and Bear realizes that something about this wish is not right. But at this point, Nikki is too far gone, and he has only one option remaining. A desperate Bear uses the hotline number on the box of the One Wish Willow, hoping to get some answers or find a cure. I think the most disturbing part comes when he actually makes the call, and someone picks up absolutely nonchalantly. The voice at the other end sounds like a generic call center guy at first, working for minimum wage with no real stakes. In fact, I was expecting this person to just laugh it off and thought he would say something like, "These things are just a marketing gimmick and not real." But to my horror, the person at the other end of the line responds coldly about the whole situation, as if he knows it all. He doesn't sound surprised in the slightest, and clearly he knows all about how the One Wish Willow works. What's even more disturbing is that he's easily able to identify Bear and his wish, even though I would assume that many other users have purchased and used the One Wish Willow from the same store. The person responds rather casually, even though Bear is panicking and losing his mind over the phone. He almost gives off the vibe that he's done this too many times and now it's boring for him. But at the same time, his knowledge about the situation and his clarity about how nothing can be done now tells me that he knows all there is to know about the One Wish Willow. The most chilling part of the phone call is when Bear hears Nikki screaming through the phone. Before that, you could dismiss the person taking the call as a random representative, but the screams add the otherworldly touch to the whole explanation. It's so creepy when you realize that Bear is made to hear the consequences of his wish, and the mystery man doesn't even have an easy solution to this chaos, because he clearly mentions that it only ends with Bear's death. Many of you probably didn't realize that the voice behind the phone actually belongs to the director, Curry Barker himself, and the man surely had some fun playing one of the most important roles in the film. If you're wondering why I think this is such an important part, here are my theories about the origin and backstory of the Mystery Man. But before I delve into the details of this Mystery Man, let me clarify one thing up front. The movie does not treat the One Wish Willow as a cursed object. Also, contrary to what many seem to think, Nikki is not possessed in the traditional sense of the term. It's more like her psyche is now fractured into two parts. Her original self is suppressed deep down, or maybe even held up in a void somewhere, and her personality obsessed with Bear is the one that has complete control over her body. Is the Mystery Man a demonic entity? See, it might not be explicitly laid out here, but there's no way that this Mystery Man's a regular guy. I mean, what regular person just sits there to receive a call from the most unlikely hotline to be dialed at weird hours? More importantly, which regular person would have so many details about Bear's wish and its consequences? So without a doubt, we can consider that there is something supernatural about the man who takes the call from a hopeless Bear. But is he really a demonic entity? See, the director has been rather tight-lipped about the exact origin of the man, which means that we don't know if something demonic is at work here. At the same time, whatever happens with Bear's wish and the way it completely transforms Nikki tells you that this isn't really a positive force at work. The One Wish Willow might not be evil in itself, but the consequences are certainly far from good. Even with Bear's friend who wishes for $1 billion later in the movie, it's not a happy ending. He gets the money, but he doesn't get to live and enjoy the wealth because Nikki shoots him dead in a fit of rage. Is it just a coincidence that anyone we've seen making a wish in the movie had it wrong in terms of how it was finally executed? So I'm making the assumption that some demonic entity is behind all this because it's not unusual to hear about the stories where the demons play on the psyche of individuals to torment them or weaken them in the process. If that's the case, the One Wish Willow is more like a totem, which is innocent in itself until someone unleashes the mayhem. I think a fair comparison would be something like the Lament configuration from the Hellraiser movie. If you leave it alone, you're safe, but if you tamper with it, your life will turn into a living hell. By this assumption, the man behind the phone is probably the demonic entity behind all of it, or he might be one of his demonic enforcers who knows all that's going on and doesn't intervene. This makes sense when you consider how he let Bear hear the original Nikki screaming in agony, caught up in a limbo somewhere outside her physical body. It's meant to weaken Bear further, and even the solution he offers is completely cynical, where Bear apparently has to die in order for the wish to be terminated. So all things considered, this is the possibility that appeals to me the most. A member of a cult or a practitioner of dark magic. This is probably the only other alternative that I can think of, and while this possibility might not involve demons, it involves certain otherworldly forces in the practice of black magic. According to this theory, I would say that the man behind the phone is someone who's mastered the dark forces, and he probably developed the tool, the One Wish Willow, to hunt for helpless victims in the process. I mean, we've all heard of ritualistic sacrifices in various cults, and this can be a twisted way to get the job done. So this man is just the medium who's there to add to the panic of those who've purchased and used the One Wish Willow. The hotline number is never meant to be of any help, and it's only supposed to push the victims further into panic, and probably even to the point of killing themselves. I've realized after watching this movie that Bear's also quite twisted and complicated, and even he has an unhealthy obsession toward Nikki. But I think normal individuals would be pushed to a point of no return after a phone call like that, and they might just do what the voice in the phone tells them is the only solution. There have been several folklore stories where I have heard about similar cases of a wishing totem gone horribly wrong. Thus, the possibility of black magic being involved is surely not so outrageous, and the man on the phone might just be a regular human who's involved with such occult practices. He could be the real owner of the Crystal Store, which is a platform that lures his victims into buying objects like the One Wish Willow that leads them down the rabbit hole of doom and destruction. Spirit of an earlier victim of the One Wish Willow. I have come across other fan theories, such as the calls received by the spirit of someone who's fallen before Bear after using the One Wish Willow. Now, I'm aware that this is probably stretching things a bit too far, but when the movie does little to clarify on such details, the fan theories do tend to run wild. Going by this narrative, the One Wish Willow has taken many other lives in the past, which does make sense because clearly other people are buying it other than Bear. The death encountered in the process doesn't free the soul, and people are stuck in a limbo, in some otherworldly dimension. This is probably why the man has access to Nikki's true identity, which is screaming to be freed. Why does the movie leave this ambiguous? Well, what's a good horror movie without some unresolved mystery that allows you to have your own interpretation? I'm pretty sure that the director simply wanted to toy with the idea that the man behind the phone could be anyone, and at the same time, he's not some random call center employee because there's something supernatural going on here. More importantly, it leaves room for the perfect sequel story. I would pay good money to find out what happens next. And if there is a sequel, which from the looks of the box office performance is nearly certain, I think it would be a good opportunity to delve into the details of the One Wish Willow, how it was created, and who is behind it all. So from this perspective, I have to admit that it's not so terrible that the movie left this part open-ended for the viewers to have something to think about. Overall, Obsession has been a really special effort in the genre, and the concept is so unique that it leaves a scarring impact. Of all the times that I've wished my crush was obsessed with me, I almost question my wishful thinking after watching this movie, and that's quite something. The identity of the mystery man behind the phone is probably going to be unveiled in the next movie, but until then, you can always tell me in the comments what you think of the movie and the sinister fellow from the hotline number. If you appreciate efforts to bring you content like this, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, and be sure to ring that notification icon so that when we post more videos, you're notified right away. Be safe and have a great day. And as always, stay marvelous.